G'day folks, Sapper here with another World of Warships video. Welcome to BLUF, or Bottom Line Up Front, a series where I review ships but give you the need to know first thing and the in-depth meat further on. Think of it as a ship review video but with a TLDR and ratings for noobs and skills at the end. Fiji is a great ship, a pinnacle of the line. But how does Edinburgh stack up in comparison? And how feasible is Radar Edinburgh? Let's find out. Here is my review of the Tier 8 Royal Navy light cruiser, Edinburgh. The bluff for Edinburgh is that she is a decent zoning ship but plays more like a Fiji that's up-tiered with some tweaks, rather than an evolution of the concept. Edinburgh has respectable DPM, short range, a great heel, and great concealment when compared to her peers. Unfortunately, she has the characteristically horrible armour scheme that's a signature of the line. With the increased numbers of radar ships at higher tiers, Edinburgh can be tough to play when compared to Fiji, particularly for more inexperienced players. Adepts will be able to work within her limitations, and some may be able to get good results with radar, particularly in a division, but smoke should be the go-to for most players. Edinburgh can be strong in her zoning niche, but is a challenging ship otherwise. Before I get into the juicy details, don't forget to hit the subscribe and notification buttons if you want to see more of my content. Edinburgh's hull is very similar to Fiji with a few minor differences. Firstly, she's longer, so there's more citadel to hit. Then her bow and stern are 16mm instead of 13mm. This means that heavy cruiser AP can't overmatch Edinburgh. And finally, she has a bit more superstructure. Edinburgh's bow and stern armour are only shared with Belfast 43 at Tier 8 and are overmatched by 229mm guns. So watch out for oversized cruiser guns like those on Drake, Goliath, Henri, and the new Dutch Tier 9 and Tier 10, not to mention any supercruiser. Although notably the 220s on Petro, Stalin and Moskva aren't quite big enough to overmatch her. To round this out, Edinburgh has a 9.2km concealment and a 5.5km smoke firing penalty with full build. Edinburgh's AA is nothing special. She has some respectable flak and a little bit of DPS in her mid and short range. Tier 6 aircraft carriers may struggle, but Tier 8s and Tier 10s will be able to strike you easily. For torpedoes, Edinburgh continues Fiji's torpedo armament of 3 per side and the option to single fire. When upgraded, the torpedoes do 15,000 damage, have a range of 10 km and a reload of 72 seconds. Edinburgh has a health pool of 36,400, but she does get 4 super heals with Superintendent. Edinburgh does eat a lot of pens and citadels, much like the rest of the line, and subsequently is not a durable ship. For mobility, Edinburgh is okay, with a 7.7 second rudder shift for 730 meters, and that is with the rudder upgrade. A key note is that she doesn't lose much speed during her turns, but she does drift a fair bit. Overall, Edinburgh is not an open water cruiser, thanks to her armour scheme. For consumables, Edinburgh comes with smoke or radar, hydro and a heel, with 4 charges of each with Superintendent. Edinburgh's smoke is similar to her predecessors, 15 second emission time, 99 second duration and 160 second cooldown. Her hydro is the standard cruiser variant for tier with 3.5km torpedo and 5km ship detection. Where Edinburgh differentiates herself from Fiji is in her heel and radar. Her heel is the specialised version at 2% per second and 50% of citadel damage recoverable. Use it early and often once there is a chunk to heal. Edinburgh's radar has a range of 10 km, a 30 second duration, and a reload of 120 seconds. With her 9.2km concealment, it allows her to stealth radar, although it is tricky to play her like this, but more on that later. Edinburgh's guns are the same 4 triple 152s as seen on Fiji, with a 7.5 second reload instead of an 8 second reload. This equates to just over a 6% increase in DPM, which is comparable to other cruiser line increases from Tier 7 to Tier 8. The guns fire the same short fuse AP seen on Leander and Fiji. The issue is that Edinburgh has the same range as Fiji at 15.4km. And at Tier 8, this is pretty poor. Subsequently, Edinburgh can deal reasonable damage, but she doesn't feel as impressive as Fiji, and feels almost as limited as Leander in regards to her range. So how do you play her? You play Edinburgh just like you played Fiji, but pay more attention to radar enemies as you will see more of them. You play her with or near islands. Your presence and zoning power comes from keeping your guns hot and landing your shells from safety. Basic and intermediate players will want to focus on positioning well and staying alive, the priority targets as usual being destroyers. More advanced level players will be able to take more risks and engage in open water work a little bit more often, or close support to destroyers at times. When engaging in the core smoke cruiser gameplay, target selection can be varied to fend off multiple enemies. Where advanced level players can see some differences to Fiji is by running radar. Edinburgh is not a particularly nice experience with radar thanks to her poor open water ability by way of her armour scheme. However, radar can be effective and should be used from cover, if possible, where Edinburgh can shoot from safety. However, Edinburgh can stealth radar and her shells really hurt destroyers. If she's lucky, she can secure a destroyer kill in one such engagement. However, her DPM isn't quite good enough most of the time, and she relies on the enemy making a critical error. Due to this and Edinburgh's reliance on terrain to keep her guns active, those that choose to run radar will have much better results doing so in a division with a smoke destroyer, where the destroyer ally can smoke up Eden, and where your friendly destroyer can capitalise on a destroyer advantage. Notable enemies for Edinburgh are battleships and cruisers with guns over 228mm in calibre. These enemies' AP shells can overmatch Edinburgh's bow and stern. Any enemy with radar is also a risk, as it doesn't take much to find Edinburgh's citadel when she's caught out in smoke. For game modes, Edinburgh does okay in ranked, but is primarily a random ship. The reason being is that there are better radar or DPM options at tier 8. Onto the build. For modules, pick up range module first, then hull, which improves your health by 3800 and rudder shift by 3 seconds with the rudder upgrade. And then finally pick up the torpedo upgrade to get your torpedoes from 8 to 10 kilometers. For consumables, Edinburgh has access to heal, hydro, and smoke or radar. For upgrades, pick up main battery 1, engine room protection, aiming systems, rudder shift, and then concealment. You can run hydro or radar mod in slot 2 if you wish. If you are running radar, I recommend radar mod, as with the consumables enhancement skill and a Dunkirk, you can get up to 40.5 seconds of radar time. Onto captain skills. Whether you run smoke or radar, the following is what I currently recommend. First, pick up last stand, then consumables enhancements, particularly if you are running radar, then superintendent, and concealment expert for 10 points. After that, pick up radio location for 14, because knowing where the enemy that's spotting or approaching you is crucial, and this is particularly useful if you are running radar, allowing you to catch out unsuspecting destroyers. Then pick up adrenaline rush for 17, grease the gears for 18, and survivability expert for 21. For captains, the Dunkirk brothers are a great fit thanks to buffed grease the gears and consumable skills. Cunningham is a very poor choice, as his buffs align better with HE focused lines such as battleships, heavy cruisers, or even destroyers. The full bottom line is that Edinburgh is a solid zoning ship that is trickier to play than her predecessors, thanks to the increase in the number of radar ships in her tier bracket. She offers more gameplay opportunities when compared to Fiji or Leander, thanks to her concealment and stealth radar potential, but for the most part, she is a rougher grind. Edinburgh can be challenging to play, but can influence most matches she is in if the conditions are favourable or if she is given some room to perform. So how does Edinburgh compare for noobs or skills? Edinburgh gains points compared to her peers for concealment, utility tools, and zoning power. She loses points on armour scheme and range. Edinburgh is a respectable ship with 2 possible gameplay styles, but is limited by her armour scheme and range. So for the scores. Noobometer, 6 out of 10. Basic level players will find Edinburgh a bit of a downgrade from Fiji, thanks to being a tier higher, but without much in the way of upgrades. Skillometer? 7 out of 10. Advanced level players have a lot to work with, and in some matches Edinburgh will excel, but thanks to her niche playstyle options, it can be difficult to have an impact in every battle. My recommendation is free XP the range module at a minimum, preferably the hull as well, and make up your own mind as to whether she's worth keeping. If you find her difficult and not a lot of fun, Neptune and Minotaur may not be for you. Personally, I found Edinburgh to be a solid ship, but if I wanted to play with smoke, I preferred Fiji. Subsequently, I've been playing Radar Edinburgh, and while she isn't consistent in every battle, I find the challenging play and the skill demands rewarding. But a warning, Radar Eden is not for the faint of heart. If you do have the skills to consider it and are wondering about the choice, it comes down to one simple factor. There are better radar cruisers at tier 8. That's why I recommend playing with smoke. Next up for BLUF is Neptune. Does Neptune continue the decline as we get further from Fiji, or does she have something to offer that Edinburgh was missing? We'll find out next time on Bottom Line Up Front. If you like this review, please give it a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you didn't like this review or think I missed something, please comment anyway and let me know. If you want to discuss Edinburgh, Royal Navy light cruisers, or upcoming videos, please join my Discord Dark Lab, link will be down in the comments. Thanks for watching, stay healthy, and I'll catch you in the next one.